Welcome back to LonelyMan BGs in this video series on Apex Theropod Collected Edition. In this series, we'll be learning how to hunt, evolve, and dominate the other predatory creatures in our ecosystem. This video will encompass every step of multiplayer setup, so let's begin. First up, on the Hunting Grounds game board, a space titled Defensive Stance and Disaster Area cards is located on the right-hand side. All Defense Stance and Disaster cards are placed here. Just below that are two more spaces, the first being the Alert deck. All 12 alert cards are placed in this space. The title of the card is located in the top right-hand corner. The Evolve deck, tucked nicely into the box, will grant each player one egg card, which is placed face up in each player's hatchery, where it remains until it is purchased. Note that these egg cards from the Evolve deck have a cost at the top, shown in a blue value too. Along the side, the only text showing is Evolve. Later on, we'll see egg cards from another deck, and along their right-hand side, a descriptor of starting deck. The Evolve deck is made up of 10 different cards, like Dynamic Vitality and Selective Genetics, and these are all shuffled together. On the Hunting Grounds board, there is a space for the Evolve deck, directly adjacent to the Evolve pool. The shuffled Evolve deck can be placed in this space. Next up, the Affliction Deck. Players will grab all the Affliction cards and construct their Affliction deck according to this chart. We're setting up for a 2-player game, so 15 flesh wounds, 6 severe traumas, 1 virus card, 3 broken bones, and a single fatal pathogen are all shuffled together before the deck is placed on the Affliction space face down. Any excess Affliction cards are placed back into the box as they will not be used. The Environment deck involves more construction, so players will need to assemble a few different card types from the Environment cards. First, players will choose between 0 and 3 Emergence cards, depending on how difficult they want the game to be. The fewer the Emergence cards, the more brutal the game becomes. The players will also take a single Asteroid Impact card, a single Boss Threat card, and a single Extinction card. Shuffling the remaining Environment cards, the players will draw between 5 and 7 random cards. The more Environment cards, the longer the game. Now, to arrange the Environment deck, the Emergent cards will be placed on top, followed by the 5 to 7 random cards. Then comes the Asteroid Impact, then the Boss Threat card, and finally, the deck ends with the Extinction card. This deck is then placed face down on the Hunting Grounds game board. Assembling the Hunt deck is the final task for the Hunting Grounds. In the box, players will locate the Hunt deck cards, each naming a different type of hunt, such as Big Game. This graph tells players how many cards of each hunt type are needed per player. Note, on the side of each card, there is a box labeling what type of card it is. For example, this is a Predator. Players will need to randomly draw 5 Big Game cards per player, 5 Prey cards per player, 2 Menace cards per player, 2 Titan cards per player, and a single Predator card per player. Then, players will draw 1 Boss card per player as well. Each boss has a number of minion cards that correspond to that boss. For example, the Spinosaurus has 3 minion cards associated, while the Titanoceratops has 4 minions. These minion cards are mixed and shuffled with the previous hunt cards, then placed face down on the game board. The bosses are also shuffled and placed off to the side directly adjacent. This concludes our setup of the Hunting Grounds, and now we move on to the Nesting Grounds, a player's personal playing area. To start, each player will choose one of the species to play as, such as the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is listed as a moderately hard deck to play as. In the multiplayer game, the Apex Juvenile card of each species deck is taken out of the game and returned back to the box, as it is only used in solo play. The player will then separate out 5 hatchling cards from the deck, as well as the Alpha Juvenile card. Going back to the box, the player will grab the starting deck cards, which include carcasses and eggs. Each player will take 1 Titan carcass, 4 Prey carcasses, and a single egg card from the starting deck. These are then mixed with the 5 hatchling cards and the Alpha Juvenile card to create the player's draw pile, which is placed on the Nesting Grounds mat. The player then separates out the Alpha Adult card and the Alpha Veteran card from the remaining cards, as well as the 3 remaining hatchlings in that species deck. From the deck that remains, the player can either randomly draw 20 cards, or even design their own deck by choosing 20 cards, placing the unused cards back in the box. These 20 cards are then shuffled with the 3 hatchlings that were separated out, and this new deck is placed face down on the Nesting Grounds and is known as the Apex deck. Finally, the 2 alpha cards from before, the adult and the veteran, are placed in the player's hatchery. Once each player has done this for their species, the players are entirely ready to play the game. In the next video, we'll go over some of the basics of the game in order to teach you how to play Apex Theropod. Thanks for watching.